I'm Mark Moore from Free Thinking Therapies. I'm a hypnotherapist based in Leicestershire. I also use a lot of NLP in my work. I do some counselling and I practice and teach mindfulness meditation. In addition, I give talks to businesses, groups, clubs, charities on subjects that are designed to provoke thought and conversation about our mental health. I've been talking a lot about motivation, anxiety, stress, and what's happening to us during this period of lockdown and isolation. And a lot of these conversations happening over on Facebook and Twitter, social media. And a lot of people are talking about their stress levels and feeling anxious. So I want to spend a few minutes today just talking about that subject and maybe just put a couple of simple exercises or a bit of thought in there how you can manage and hopefully reduce both your stress and anxiety at the moment. The problem is, I think, that very much social media is awash with advice and tips from a whole range of sources. We've got advice from the government, the NHS, scientific advice, and we're all trying to come to terms with this. And then on top, we've got a host of celebrities vying for our attention, trying to help, to be fair, and it's all really good, well-meaning advice. But this is just adding to the huge surge of information that we're trying to process. I think a lot of people are trying to understand what is happening, not just out there in the world right now, but what's happening to them. And people tell me that they're feeling challenged, they're struggling to cope, and even in some instances, they just feel they can't cope at the moment. Routines have been changed beyond recognition. We're self-isolating, we're social distancing, homeschooling, home working, and the self-conscious or even feeling guilty about popping to the shop for some bread or milk. The people I mentioned that are feeling sort of, this sense they're struggling, use two words quite a lot to me: stress and anxiety. So I want to just take a few moments to look at these and suggest how we might recognise what is happening and why, and also just a few of the different models of therapy that are available, and offer a couple of examples of simple exercises that just might help reduce and manage our stress and anxiety for this period. So let's just understand what therapy is all about. It often sounds scary, it sounds serious, but I've always believed at its basic level, it's about help, it's about support. The vast majority of clients, people, often arrive at a therapist's door when they've exhausted all the other options. They feel unable to cope, they've had lots of advice, and often they're referred by the NHS to their own GP, or they just feel that nothing's working for them. And often they arrive saying, I'm out of ideas, I'm at the end of my tether, I just feel like I'm at breaking point or beyond. And it's the beyond bit or breaking point that I think where the problem really lies. If you consider the way you manage your data, your phone, your computer, your iPad, we back it up, maintain it, and we get quite stressed when that technology lets us down. We look after our cars, we maintain them, we service and MOT them. We tend to our homes and gardens with pride. And we look after our career and our job. We maintain as much as we can, but we tend to neglect our mental health. And then we get frustrated when the time and the money we've invested in our objects, our possessions, doesn't actually prevent them from breaking or breaking down. But the one thing that controls everything we do, the one thing that automatically guides us, keeps us safe, at best we ignore it, or we just take it for granted. And that's our mind. And think about it, from the moment you open your eyes in the morning, you'll complete thousands of tasks that you don't think of, you're not aware of what you're doing, we just do them automatically. So all our bodily functions, and I'm not just talking about the obvious ones, all your organ functions, simple acts of eating, drinking, walking, reading, driving, interpreting all those sounds you hear through the day into music that you recognise, words that you can understand, and you can engage with other people with those words. If you think about it, the day you were born, you couldn't do any of this. You've learnt it all and you've stored all that data, and it's there on command when you need it. So imagine if you lost access to those sort of data files. So when you consider that now hopefully how important our mind is to us, I just ask the question, don't we feel it deserves a little bit of maintenance? And that's what therapy should also be about. It's about maintaining good health, not just repairing it at the point where it breaks down. Back to stress and anxiety. They are similar, but not the same. Stress is the fear, the threat that we feel in the here and now. So that's Opening the door to be confronted by a tiger, huge bear, something that scares us. It's there, it's real, it's now. Anxiety is the thought of what might be behind that door. We've heard a noise, we start to conjure up pictures in our heads and thoughts, what might be there. So anxiety is the fear, if you like. It's the worry of what might be, or what could be. And when I see clients from a hypnotherapy point of view and with counselling, they'll often say, I would just like to be free of stress. I'd like to be free of worry. And as powerful as hypnotherapy is, no good, ethical, honest hypnotherapist would remove stress in its entirety from people. You could not be stress-free. We need stress. It's built in. Think about it. It's helped mankind survive right up to this point. But what we can do is reduce stress. We can help people manage stress. And remember, it's our personal perception of the problem that decides whether it's stressful or not. It's not the event itself. Just take something as obvious as going to the dentist. For client A, it's not a problem. He's stressed about something else. But I will have clients who are petrified, who will not go to the dentist. So maybe not the best example, but I think it just illustrates that we all have different stress, and it's our own perception of whether something is threatening to us, our family, our health, our life. And it can be very minor. It can often seem irrational. But if we believe it's real, then it's real for us. But stress can also motivate us. It can give us the ability, the resource to respond to whatever that threat might be, even if the response boils down to I'm going to fight or I'm simply going to run away. And I'll just pause to say there's a really good book out there at the moment by an author called Kelly McGonigal called The Upside of Stress. And I think it's really worth a read if you get 5 minutes. And what Kelly says in her book is we get stressed when our goals are on the line, so we can take action. When our values are threatened, so we can defend them, when we need courage. And we get stressed so we can connect with other people, so that we will learn from our mistakes. And she goes on to say that the stress response is more than sort of basic human survival instinct. It's built into how we operate, how we relate to one another, and how we navigate our place in the world. And when you understand this, the stress response is something that no longer needs to be feared. It's something that we can appreciate. We can harness that stress and the response, the values and energy it can give us. And it's something that we can even trust. We often trust our gut instinct, our response. We know something's wrong. So could it be that it's just our basic view of stress, its negative connotations that make it harmful? So I suppose the consideration is stress only bad for us when we believe it is? You often hear people say, I thrive on stress. And there are people who can. But just think about stress and anxiety. I think a useful intervention, if you're feeling that way, just a little exercise is, I think just acknowledge stress when you feel it. All too often we try to push it away. We distract ourselves from it. Just acknowledge when you're feeling stressed. We all feel stressed, whoever we are. And actually just welcome it. It's a response to something that you care about. We don't get stressed about things we don't care about. So what is at stake for you? Why is that important? And then just make use of the energy that stress response provides. What can you do right now to reflect your values? And remember also, I think that anxiety will produce real physical responses. We all know when we're feeling anxious, our stomach churns, the heart starts to race, we may get hot, sweat, it may feel like we need the toilet, that kind of thing. And those real physical reactions are often being brought on by our mind. We're thinking something scary, something threatening, makes us anxious, and the response is automatic. They're real responses, but it's a response to a thought that we're having. So often it's something that's untrue, untested and untried. It is just a thought. I think once we acknowledge that that's what's happening sometimes, we can start to just empower ourselves and to liberate ourselves from the thoughts and therefore the responses that anxiety can evoke in us. A common thing I'm hearing now is, I can't cope with lockdown. And that may be just a belief, it's something we hear, it's something we pick up. Other people say it, we assume we're like other people, and we join in that response. But I suppose ask yourself, if I were not able to have that belief, does it still actually make it true? If I think it's still true, I can't cope, where's your evidence? What's your actions? Just stop and ask yourself, what's changed? The fact that you're here having that conversation, listening, looking at me, means you've survived the element of lockdown. And sometimes, is it just a what if? Is it an excuse that just limits ourselves, that actually holds us back? And something actually we've just stopped questioning, a presupposition of truth, if you like. I've heard it, I'm not going to question it, I believe it. Another good tip with worries, I think, is write them down. I think many of us don't realise how useful it can be just to externalise something, and how unlikely many of them are to be true. It can just reduce the anxiety response just by acknowledging the emotion that we're feeling, giving it a name, give it a label, however you want to see it. And writing it down actually just takes away some of its power. We can see it, but writing it down actually just causes us to bring it into our conscious mind, to give it some thought. And we can acknowledge then the feelings that we're having, what it is that worries us. And we can possibly just choose a different response, or just step out that cycle of anxiety and reaction all the time. I suppose my last tip, being a teacher of mindfulness meditation, is, and everybody says, try a bit of meditation. A lot of people come to me and say, how do you do it? Okay. It's not as easy as we think, but then it's not as difficult. Sorry for contradicting there, but it's just a great way to dissolve and manage stress and anxiety. And it's simply about, people often say, where do you go to? And it's about just coming back. And I will say a good simple exercise is just find somewhere comfortable to sit upright in a chair, sit comfortably on the floor, but keep yourself a good posture, nice sort of upright. It's no special position. You don't need to sit into some convoluted, uncomfortable position. You do need to be comfortable. You don't want to be fidgeting. Just a couple of nice deep breaths, just settle yourself and just relax. Close your eyes, or just let your gaze settle 2 or 3 meters on the floor in front of you. And it's about just coming back inside yourself, rather than being away having conversations, thoughts about what you're going to have for dinner tonight. Did you turn the straighteners off? Did I put the cat out, etc.? Just stop. Just come back and think, how am I feeling right now? A little bit of just self-maintenance, self-care, and just spend 5 or 10 minutes. Just think about your body, what you're feeling, your mind, emotions. It's about just stopping the thoughts. The thoughts will still come, the pictures, the images, the conversations, and you will find yourself just drifting off with them, and just gently bring yourself back and think 10, 15 minutes just thinking about me. And it works. It takes practice. It sounds easy, but it's not as easy as we think. But it's certainly worth a really good try. And I think just 10, 15 minutes a day to start with, that's all we've got. And mindfulness is called a practice. So some people will leap up after 5, 10 minutes and think, I've cracked it. Other people can spend days, weeks, months. Some people will have phases of finding it works for them, it doesn't, need to change the practice a little bit. But it's worth sticking with. At best, it's about just taking 10, 15 minutes out of the day to think about yourself for once. Not the kids, not the boss, not the team or somebody else. Just making sure that you're okay. So I hope this conversation has been useful to you. You can check out the videos I'll be posting each week on YouTube, just looking at some of the issues that are trending around mental health and well-being, and other stuff that's trending on social media. I've also got my website, so you can pop over there, just look at the kind of therapies that are available, contact me if you need some help, or at best, if you're struggling at the moment, just talk to someone, get some help, and keep yourself well. And hopefully just try and make your tomorrow a little bit better than your yesterday. Thanks for listening.